I bought my light, and I haven't even turned it on yet. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn it on. We're going to kind of set it a little bit and see what we can do with it. I actually got this light for several purposes, one of which is to give some accent lighting, some blue accent lighting over on this side. So, yeah, let's go ahead and give it a try. By the way, it's an Aperture MC. There you go, Aperture MC. All right, so let's turn it on. Woo, it's on. Okay, but now the thing that this thing is going to be able to do is I can change some settings on it. By the way, it's only at 50%. I can turn it way, way up. All right, that's cool, but let's go ahead and turn it back down a little bit. I can change the color temperature. All right, so now it's getting really low and so forth, and that's fine. Color temperature for this tends to be here. But I should be able to change the color. All right, how do I change the color? How do I change the color? I should have brought the manual up here, right? All right, there's a way to change the color. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's try this. I'll get on it through an app. It has Bluetooth, and I can connect with this app on all of, let's see, your account login has expired. Oh, give me a break. Login. Okay, who knows what my login was? All right, so, gosh, you always think you have it all figured out. Is that my login? Well, maybe it is. All right, so I got my login right. That's odd. All right, so let's see if it can find this new fixture. Is this the new one? No, that's that one back there. Okay, let's try fixtures. Let's do all fixtures. No, it doesn't recognize it yet, and I'm not going to make you guys sit around and wait to figure out how to attach that. Okay, so we're going to leave that alone. We're going to continue to mess with this. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. I have to hold down the button. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to okay, hold it down again. Come on, you. Why do you keep doing that? Okay, I'm in the right area. Here we go. Come on, let's get to the HSA or HSI. All right, so let's try this. Okay. BT. Reset. No. Oh, reset. Uh-oh. Don't know what I just did there. Special effects. By the way, special effects, just for the fun of it, so you can see. Oh, it's not, no effects loaded. Okay. All right, let's push this down again. Hold it down. Gosh, this thing's trickier than I thought it would be. All right, I'm stuck there, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on. See if this works. Hold this down. Okay, CCT. Hold that down. See, it has this little display here that I'm reading off of. Okay, hold this down. Ah, now we're good. Now we're there. Okay, so here's our hue. I want a blue hue. Our green. I want to get some blue. That's a nice blue, right? Okay, so we'll leave it. Let's do that one. Okay, saturation 100. Okay, and then intensity, it's at 50. Let's bring the intensity up to 100. Okay, so this is what we've got right now. So now the nice thing about this also is it has magnets on the back, and this thing has some metal on it. So now that's awfully bright. I can take the intensity down, or it's not that it's bright, it's that it's localized. I want it broader, right? What I might need to do for now is take the intensity down. Let's take it down to 50%. There's 50% intensity. Set it there. Yeah, that's not bad, but I think what I need to do is probably set it on a tripod or something over here. So I thought I had another cheap tripod in here, but oh, I guess I'm using it for something else. So let's just, for the fun of it, set it over here off camera. Hey, you know, so that's not bad, right? That's not bad, and that's at 50%. So if I'm sitting right here, that's kind of nice. I'd like it if it were pointing up a little bit more, right? And I could do that with a tripod. I could have it so it's pointing up a little bit, so it's going up the wall. That's what I'm kind of looking for, going up the wall there. But right now, that's not bad. Let's see what upping the intensity does. Okay, 100% intensity, off camera. I think that's too bright. So I'm going to take that back down. You know, here's 60% intensity. Maybe 50 was better. Let's go with 50 and I'll just leave that alone. So that's what this light will allow me to do, to kind of get some blue into the scene there. And I think that's helpful. So yeah, lawn with a new toy, right? All right, so there you go. Hey, this was interesting for me. I can't, if you stuck around with this whole thing, you're sick. All right, hey, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so yeah, actually I put it up on a tripod so I could angle it a little bit, and now I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Now it makes me think that it's too dark over here, so I'll have to bring some light in over here, but that's okay for now. In the cinematic world, by the way, there's something about blue, cyan, and orange, right? Blue and orange, cyan and orange, or whatever, blue and cyan. I don't know. I get the colors mixed up. It's blue and cyan. They tend to go well together, and so you see a lot of movies that really have this blue and orange kind of intermixed, especially if you're watching a Michael Bay or something like that. So I wanted to bring that over. I hope you like the look of it. Okay, everyone, welcome, welcome. Great to have you along. Today, let's go ahead and get started here. We are talking about Mike LeFevre, the steelworker. So a little bit of background on what this is all about. back in the 70s, Studs Terkel here, he was a radio host and reporter and so forth. He interviewed a whole bunch of workers, just the day-to-day workers. His whole thought was, listen, all the media just loves talking to all the celebrities and the big, beautiful people, you know, the beautiful people, the beautiful people. And he's kind of like, you know what? There's a lot of hard-working schmucks out here who deserve to have their voice heard. Studs Terkel was somewhat of a socialist in this way, but he wanted to give just the working class folks their day in the sunshine. And so he interviewed a whole bunch of people, and he compiled them together in a book called On Working. I think it was On Working. Maybe it was Just Working by Studs Terkel. And I have a copy of this book. I bought it because when I came across this, I was like, oh, I gotta check this out more. And Mike LeFevre was one of the guys that he interviewed, right? A steel worker, all right? And if you did the reading, you see Mike LeFevre is a real piece of work. He's really, really something. And I love the guy. And by the way, as I look at this up here with that blue there and so forth, kind of a purple, I sort of like that. That's kind of cool. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about Mike LeFevre. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at him in context of what Karl Marx called alienated labor, alienation, right? Alienation from labor. And that Adam Smith as well agreed with. He agreed with the problem. Adam Smith, Karl Marx agree on the problem. They disagree on the solution. But we're going to look at Mike LeFevre through the eyes of alienation of labor. All right? First, a little intro of Mike LeFevre in his own words. I'm a dying breed, a laborer, strictly muscle work. Pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. Now, if you remember from our lecture, previous lecture on, what day was that, Monday, one of the things that Karl Marx is concerned about when it comes to labor and capitalism and industrialization is that it turns the craftsman into just a pick it up, put it down guy, right? You just do this one repetitive task over and over. You know, you're no longer creating a product. You're not, you know, a craftsman, you know, just, you know, imbuing something with yourself. You're just labor, man. And Mike LeFevre knows what he is. I'm a dying breed, a laborer, strictly muscle work. Pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. That's it. Okay? All right, well, let's see how he talks about some of the things. Remember, Karl Marx talked about work being our species essence. The way we kind of express ourselves as a species is through our work, all right? Everything that we enjoy in this world today, and we enjoy a lot of cool stuff, is the result of somebody's work and the result of hopefully people being able to express themselves and exercise their craft and really make something meaningful to them and hopefully the rest of the world, right? So, you know, even just, you know, the layout of the buttons on these things and the functionality of it and so forth, and the elegance of something as simple as what is basically a fancy tape recorder, you know, people have been able to you know, exercise design expertise and so forth in creating this. This is our species essence. This is what it means to be human, to express ourselves through our work. Well, let's look at what Mike LeFevre says here. He said, I got chewed out by my foreman once. He said, Mike, you're a good worker, but you have a bad attitude. My attitude is that I don't get excited about my job. I do my work, but I don't say whoop-de-doo. The day I get excited about the job is the day I go to a head shrinker. How are you going to get excited about pulling steel? I really like this because tell me if you've experienced this, right? Tell me if you've had a manager or a supervisor come and say, you know, we need to talk about your attitude, right? And it's like, what is my attitude? This is what Mike LeFevre is saying. What does my attitude have to do with it? I come into work, I do my job, I do it well, leave me alone. How am I supposed to go whoop-de-doo about pulling steel, right? You expect me to somehow or another just like find my species essence in pulling steel? Give me a break, right? So Scott says that he's heard this from his bosses, right? Yeah. I've heard it too, right? And it's like, okay, you're paying me for the work. You're not paying me to be the cheerleader. And that's what Mike LeFevre is finding over here. He's not pulling steel because that's the way he self-actualizes. He's just a muscle man. He just does this stuff. He's not fulfilled, okay? And like he says, if I get, how are you supposed to get excited about pulling steel? It's not why he's in the job. Okay, so let's talk about the ways that Mike LeFevre is alienated from his work. Now, remember, Karl Marx pulled out four ways that we are alienated from our work, or we could possibly be. The first one, if you remember, was alienation from the product. The idea here is that we're distanced from the product itself, pushing a button rather than creating a product, making little in the process, the profit going to the machines, okay? So that's what Karl Marx was concerned about when it comes to alienation from the product. Now let's see what Mike LeFevre says, all right? This is from the reading. You can't take pride anymore. You remember when a guy could point to a house he built, how many logs he stacked. He built it and was proud of it. It's hard to take pride in a bridge you're never going to cross, in a door you're never going to open. You're mass producing things and you never see the end result of it. Okay, this is classic alienation from the product, right? It's like, I'm never going to engage with this product and I'm just doing one tiny piece of it, right? And I'm not even really welcome to engage with the product. It reminds me of a scene from a movie. I doubt you've seen it. It's an old movie called Breaking Away. Breaking Away. It's about these, basically the sons of a bunch of laborers in Indiana joining a bike race. It's a bike race against all the college elite students, right? And it focuses on this one guy who's really into cycling, and he cons his friends into joining him in the cycle race against the, college students. And the thing is, these kids, they're the local kids, and they're the kids of all the stone cutters, people who cut all the granite and so forth for the buildings. They're the sons of the stone cutters, and these college elite kids come into town and they look down on the locals because I'm a college student, whereas you're just a local son of a stone cutter, right? So they do this bike race. Well, at one point, the father of the main character is walking through. He wants his son to go to college. I want you to go to university. And the kid's like, I don't know that college is for me. And father says, let's take a walk. And they go, and it's in the evening. They're taking a walk through the college campus, the university campus. And he says, you know, you see that building there? You see that building there? You know, your friend's fathers and I, we all cut the stone for those buildings. And we really, really took pride in the stone that we cut. And when we were doing our work, we were appreciated for being a stone cutter. But once they started to go up as buildings, we weren't really welcome in those buildings. Sure, we can cut the steel, but once it goes up as a building and is part of a university, we weren't really welcome. And that's a great example of alienation from the product. You know, you helped create this product, but now that it's up, you're not welcome here. I always think about that. Okay, so that's Mike LeFevre. Let's look at another one. Now, this is actually from my PhD dissertation. When I did my dissertation on fulfillment at work, thriving in the workplace, things like that, this is a quote from one of the individuals that I interviewed for my study, okay? Listen to this quote. Being able to point at something and say, I did that, or I worked on that, or your random person on the street can go out and touch this thing that I worked on. The closer that the product that I worked on is to something that somebody would recognize, the better I feel about it. To be able to say, I'm one of a couple of people who made this happen, that it was a tremendous feeling of achievement, and it was a feeling that persisted. He is not feeling alienation from the product. This individual is feeling very close to the product, very intimately connected with it, to where he could point to it and say, I did that. And he could talk to somebody else and say, oh, you know that thing you have? I helped design that. And they'd go, wow, that's cool. Okay. So this is the opposite side. All right, let's come back to what Karl Marx is saying, one of alienation from one's own labor, okay? Remember, we're talking about small, repetitive, monotonous tasks that don't really allow the person to express themselves in the work. Selling mechanical labor, little more than a machine, you know, a pick it up, put it down guy, like Mike LeFevre would say. Well, let's read our next quote from Mike. You know, somebody's going to build something. Pyramids, Empire State Building. These things don't just happen. Somebody's going to build them. There's hard work behind it. I would like to say a building, say the Empire State Building, I would like to see on one side of it a foot-wide strip from top to bottom with the name of every bricklayer, the name of every electrician, with all the names. So when a guy walked by, he could take his son and say, see, that's me over there on the 45th floor. I put the steel beam in. Picasso can point to a painting. What can I point to? A writer can point to a book. Everybody should have something to point to. I love this guy. Think he's just a dumb steel worker? No, he's insightful, right? So he's expressing this frustration that he's never going to get recognition from his work, right? He can work and work and work and work, but he's never going to feel like he's a part of it or that he's recognized as a part of it. One thing I thought was kind of interesting is University of Utah Hospital recently built a new building. And one of the things they invited all the workers to do was there was this one big, huge girder painted white. It was going to be, it's visible. It was going to be visible in the final product. And they invited all the workers to come sign the girder, okay? And so then they put the girder up in the main area. And yes, people can walk by with their sons and daughters and point to a part on the girder and maybe even take a picture and zoom up on it and say, you see, that's my signature. I helped build this place. So I think Mike LeFevre would appreciate even that small gesture. Okay, back to Karl Marx. He says there's alienation from others, that capitalism creates an environment where we're alienated from one another. We're not connected with one another in a way that gives them meaning and purpose in the community. Okay, so let's talk Mike LeFevre again. How does he feel about the community? He tells this great story. He's in a bar, right? And this college student comes over and looks at him. Now, Mike LeFevre reads philosophy. That's beautiful. I love this guy. He reads philosophy, okay? Well, this kid walked up. He saw a book in my back pocket one time, and he was amazed. He walked up to me and said, "You read?" I said, "What do you mean you read?" "I read?" He said, "All these dummies read the sports pages around here. What are you doing with a book?" I got pissed off at the kid right away. I said, "What do you mean all these dummies? Don't knock a man who's paying somebody else's way through college." He was a 19-year-old effete snob. All right? I love that. He couldn't even have respect in his own community, Mike LeFevre, because you're just a worker, and all these dummies, they just, what do you mean all these dummies? They're working their ass off so you can go to college, and they're as smart as you are. They just don't walk around and try to show it off all the time. So alienated from others. So Adam here at the Huntsman Cancer Hospital, they have a bunch of bricks with the names of people who donated to them. My mom, dad, and sister have bricks there. That's cool, right? And yes, absolutely a similar idea. And they're doing some huge construction out there at the Huntsman Center. They're like doubling the size of the place. It's quite something. So yes, excellent example. Excellent example. Okay, let's keep going. So I'm gonna, gosh, I need to make myself disappear for a moment, but I still want you to be able to hear me. So let's see if I, oh no, I bet you can't hear me then. Let's see if I go to this stack. Oh gosh. Oh no. Okay. I'm messing things up. Let's see here. If I come here. Yeah, I don't think I can just turn off a stack. Let me turn this off, and then I'm going to move out of the way for a moment. Okay? All right, so this is where I'm going to ask for your input, and we're going to start stacking up some points. All right? I want to tell you about two people, right? The first guy here, in high school, he worked at a place called Woolworths. Woolworths doesn't exist anymore. And he stained wood. He dropped out of college, worked a few years as a night security guard for minimum wage because he dropped out. Spent 7 years working nights for FedEx, sorting freight, driving a tug, delivering packages, things like that. Okay, so that's our first guy. Our second guy, department manager for a global tech firm located out in the Bay Area. He's a writer, college professor, accomplished athlete, all right? And getting myself out of the way again here. Speaks 3 languages, has 3 degrees, PhD, and has lived in 5 countries, okay? So tell me what you think about these two people, all right? What, if you made some stereotypical assumptions, and I'm inviting stereotypical assumptions. If you make some stereotypical assumptions about these two folks, what comes to mind? So let's play with that idea for just a moment. And we'll come here. Okay, excellent. We're getting some fantastic comments here. We'll go ahead and stack them up here in a moment. So by way of reminder, we have the first guy, worked manual labor during high school. He tried to go to college, but dropped out pretty quickly, worked minimum wage as night security, but then landed a job with FedEx and did all the manual labor with FedEx and so forth. Whereas the other person, big global tech firm in the Bay Area, yeah, money, right? Published writer, college professor, into athlete. I mean, one of these overachieving a-holes, right? And then speaks 3 languages, has 3 degrees, PhD, has lived in 5 countries, so on and so forth. And you guys pointed out, you said, so first of all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh, you know what we've done? You've done because you're awesome like this. So we've taken this up to 10. And we've got this up to 8. All right, which, all right. So you know the routine. Let's go ahead and do a timestamp of 1024. Our timestamp is 1024, and you are all set after that. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of these comments. Laura says, the first guy seems to be working class background, where that was encouraged as a career. The second comes from an educated family, lots of experience, opportunities, things like that. Yeah, because to live abroad and so forth, that takes money, not to mention all that college education. And then Levi says, one comes from money, whereas the other not. Nice and clean, yes. Jack, poor background, the other comes from rich and educated. Makes sense to me. Adrian, well, right off the bat, of course, you think the first guy isn't successful and the second one, you know, just on the face of it. I really like the way you put that, Adrian, is just on the face of it, in our world of capitalism, we look at the first guy and say failure, and we look at the second guy and say screaming success. Because that's how we rate success in capitalism. And ergo the alienation from others, right? Let's see, very successful, high paying. Let's see. So, yeah, Adrian, you're bang on right. Andrea, I think it's a lot of financial, right? Comes from money. The second guy did. Scott, I would assume the first guy had an unfulfilled life with no major accomplishments. The second person would assume a great high paying job and so forth. Entrepreneurial, nice. Second guy has it better. Then Laura, very good, keys in and says, I like how you said better, because it's how we often see things, right? Even though it may not be. Laura says, by the way, my husband is a welding teacher at Slick. My brother is a lawyer in Seattle. I prefer my husband's personality, humbleness, and so forth. Yeah, right? Oh, I love it. And then we have more agreement in there. I love to see that. And we have some real world examples. That is fantastic. And let's see, I'm just going to take this up now. I'm just going to take that up. You know, why not? You guys deserve it. Okay, so we got another 10. All right, so my guess is a few of you have probably figured out the spoiler, the M. Night Shyamalan twist to it all. This is both the same guy and it's me, okay? This is how I started out, and this is where I ended up. And we all have different trajectories in our life. We all take different paths, and yet we also judge everybody on what they think. Yeah, Andrea, you knew it. I know you guys knew it. But here's the point. I'm the same damn person. And yet, in the eyes of the world, I was a loser before, and I'm killing it now. Because now I'm Dr. Professor Schiffbauer, which is over here. It's like, I'm not going to get the time of day. That's what capitalism does to us, is what, what's his name? Karl Marx says, is that, you know, since we really kind of establish ourselves in our communities through our work, to say that I'm a laborer does not have the same effect as saying I'm a college professor, right? So that's the point. And I got news for you. What's his name? Mike LeFevre, even though he works in this world, he's a philosopher. He's a reader. The dude is smart, really smart. Okay, very good, guys. All right, let's see. By the way, what languages do I speak? I speak French and Japanese, but I really want to take Spanish next. French and Japanese are awesome, but they're utterly useless to me, whereas I feel like if I learned Spanish, I could actually use that given where I live and what I do. So every semester at Slick, I kind of think, is this the semester I sign up for Spanish classes? We'll see. We'll see. Okay, back to Karl Marx. Alienation from oneself. Unable to achieve one's species' essence through their work, denied the opportunity to create, innovate, critically analyze, problem solve, and affect an outcome. All right, let's see what Mike LeFevre has to say about this. And this is our close to last one. And I really love this one, guys. I love this one. When I was single, I could quit, just split. I wandered all over the country. You worked just enough to get a poke, money in your pocket. Now I'm married and got 2 kids. Trails off. I worked on a truck dock one time and I was single. The foreman came over and he grabbed my shoulder, kind of gave me a shove. I punched him and knocked him off the dock. I said, "Leave me alone. I'm doing my work. Just stay away from me. Just don't give me any of that with the hands-on business." I would rather work my ass off for 8 hours a day with nobody watching me than 5 minutes with a guy watching me. You know, who you gonna sock? You can't sock General Motors. You can't sock anybody in Washington. You can't sock a system. You can't sock a system. Oh, man, right? Now, I told you before that part of the purpose of this class is to help you take the red pill of the matrix. There are multiple systems out there literally controlling us. We don't think they're controlling us. We think that we're making these autonomous decisions and so forth. But no, marketing, advertising, social media, pressure from leadership, so on and so forth, cultural expectations, societal expectations, they are profoundly affecting our actions and our decisions and so forth. And this system is not in place for you and me. The system is in place for itself. And sometimes you got to push back against that system. Who are you going to sock? You can't sock a system, right? Now, I really like this one because I'm going to tell you a story. And this is the last story I'll end you with. He said, when I was single, I could quit, just split. Now I'm married and got 2 kids. So back when I worked at FedEx, so of course I'd been working my whole life. I worked at Woolworths, I stained wood, and so on and so forth. When you're a college dropout, you take any job you can get. But I could also quit. If I got pissed off, if manager made me mad, if I didn't like the system, I could quit. I had no responsibilities and everything. But then I got married and had my first kid. And here I am at work, and I'm working away and so forth. And I get in trouble with the manager. Now, I want to be clear. 9 times out of 10, when I get in trouble, I deserve it. I deserved it. But this one time, no, I was falsely accused. I was misrepresented. I did not deserve the trouble that I got into in this one instance. And I was pissed. I had a letter in my file. I had to sign this. I was put in timeout. I was pissed. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. This is what I always do. I'm going to quit. And for the first time in my life, I had to pause and say, I have a wife and a baby. I need the money. I need the benefits. I can't quit. And I felt 2 things simultaneously. I felt, on one hand, I had achieved a new level of maturity because now that's adulting. And on the other hand, I felt a little piece of me die inside because I was now a slave to the system, a slave out of need. I need the money, I need the benefits, I need the job. I can't just quit on some imagined sense of morality, right? Or principle, I should say. And I knew that that was going to be the rest of my life. I knew that from here on out, I have to just swallow it, which is what got me back into school. And that's the second time I did it right, okay? Or at least sort of right. So I really get where he's coming from. I really get where he's coming from. And I just want to tell you guys, you're in the right place being in school. You are never not going to be a slave to the system. You will always be a slave to the system. But some of us live in better gilded cages than others. We're going to actually talk about that more next week. So the best thing you can do is try to set yourself up for as much success as possible in that system. Okay? So there you go. That's Mike LeFevre. I hope you enjoyed that. I think the guy's amazing and very, very, very insightful. As per usual, I'll stick around if you have any questions or comments, and be sure to get that timestamp to me because, yeah, you did good. You did well. All right. Have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll see you next week.